In this demo, we're going to look at how we can actually use the histogram in Lightroom to help us make judgments which maybe we can't see visually, although a lot of the time we're making judgments based on what we can see visually. But the histogram, as you can see, is up in the top right-hand panel. It's above our basic settings when we go into develop. And basically the histogram is a representation of the tonal values. It also does represent colour a bit, but we're thinking particularly about tone in terms of contrast, highlights, and so on. So basically it shows us on the left-hand side of the histogram the blacks, and then the shadows, and then the section in the middle is our general exposure, and then we have highlights and whites on the right-hand side. And what you're aiming for, I mean, this picture doesn't really represent what we're aiming for. What you're aiming for is a kind of nice dome in the middle, so it's kind of evenly exposed and well exposed, and you don't have too much at either end. I mean, obviously in real life that does happen, and sometimes you do get a lot of blacks and a lot of whites, which means you get often some very strange kind of contrasts which don't necessarily help your picture. But what you also want to try and avoid is having clipping at either side. So if I just demonstrate with changing the blacks, if I actually make that worse, you can see the left-hand side is completely clipped, it's completely disappearing, and obviously the image looks terrible because everything's too dark. So what we want to try and do in this image, which has kind of high contrast, we want to try and pick out and actually get some of the highlights, some of the actual sort of exposure in the shadows rather than the highlights. Our highlights actually, we could actually bring down slightly so that we're getting some of the detail in the sky, and our shadows we actually want to enhance so we can see more, not ridiculously so it becomes unreal, but just to enhance the details that we can see in those rocks. And also to actually, just go into those very dark areas. Again, we don't want to make it look unreal. It's always a balance here. And with our highlights, I'm just gonna play around, and you can see in the histogram that things are moving closer to the center, and we're not getting that kind of clipping. I mean, I don't want to take too much down with that. If I play around with contrast, we can see a kind of separation, and it starts to look a little bit unreal. Again, you're looking at the histogram up here. You're trying to get a more central kind of balance so that everything's closer to the center. But what you're trying to just get visually is something that obviously looks a lot better. If I, kind of just to show you what happens on the histogram, obviously you can see that is wrong, but the visual representation also shows you that that's wrong, similarly if you were to overexpose it. So I don't think with actual exposure I'm going to do an awful lot, but it's, as I said, it's really playing around with your highlights and shadows, so you're getting a little bit more of a balanced kind of representation here.